Happy Saturday. I know that AI and research, or maybe research and AI is not the thing that you're looking for on a Saturday, but I guess there's always opportunities for learning and discussing and thought-provoking ideas, even on Saturdays. Thank you for taking time out of your weekends to join us, and I really appreciate your presence with us for all the attendees, and particularly for our panel members. I really thank you for being with us on a Saturday at the end of the year when everybody is packing bags, but I couldn't have thought of a better conclusion to our series of panel discussions than having also you with us. So, really appreciated. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Prof. K. Gallagher, a long-standing colleague, friend, partner in crime with me throughout my work at Zayed University. It is a real pleasure having you with us at the present time. Prof. K is with the Emirates College of Advanced Education. Then Dr. Zeina Hojeij, Associate Professor and Assistant Dean for Research and Outreach at the College of Interdisciplinary Studies at Zayed University. Thank you for joining. Also, another long-term partner and friend and colleague, and Dr. Zahy, Interim Assistant Dean at LAU AKSOB. You'll tell us later on what that stands for, which and Associate Professor of Marketing. Thank you for joining us. I recently got to know you, but your work is beyond impressive and it is really inspirational. Thank you for being with us. I'll give you the chance to give anything that you would like to share before we start our panel. Prof. K?
Oh, thank you, Rana. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. A pleasure to be with you and Zeina and Rami today. I work at Emirates College for Advanced Education. That's Abu Dhabi's Teachers College with campuses in Ajman and Al Ain. So I'm a teacher educator who conducts research, mostly qualitative research in the areas of language education, literacy education, and broadly teacher education. And, today I'll be speaking in a personal capacity as a researcher who's curious and open to the possibilities of AI, but like everybody, concerned about the pitfalls. And I will say that I have no specialist knowledge or expertise in the area of AI or EdTech, but I'm learning and enjoying learning to use certain AI tools, as we'll talk about in a moment. And it's really great to be engaging in dialogue with this group today as a member of the national, research community and international communities of research practice. So thank you, Rana, for having me, and I look forward very much to contributing and to learning today.
Thank you. Dr. Zeina.
Good morning. It's nice to see the two of you actually a lot, and nice to meet you, Zahy, as well. I echo what Kay said. We're here. I'm here also in my capacity as a researcher, and by no means an expert on any of this AI. And as we were having the conversation before, it's really hard to be an expert on something that's changing so fast and that is changing by the minute. So the minute you learn something, it's just the next day it's obsolete. So I think expertise in this area, what I will talk about is my personal experience and what I know from how I have used it, and the trainings I've had and so on. So looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, hello. And Dr. Zahy?
Good morning. So thank you for having me here. I'm from the Lebanese American University and from the Adnan Assar School of Business. So AKSOB.
That's it.
And again, I want to echo, the part on AI really it's a journey, and we're still on that journey, and the journey is never ending. As in not only in AI, it's like in technology, and me being in the marketing field, as Zeina just mentioned. Everything in this, especially in academia, it changes every single day. we prepare something for the classroom, you have to go and check it, and before before entering the class, there's something that you have to add, that something happened just that day. Similar with AI, similar with technology. So there's no expert in that area. There's no expert in any area, and we're still on that journey. And I'm looking really forward to the discussion today. I think it's going to be super interesting.
Thank you, Dr. Zahy. I'm going to highlight that the three of you are. I accept none of us is an expert, but each one of you is an expert in their own field and in the research that you are working. And from what I know about having worked with two of you and having had a discussion with you, Dr. Zahy, and I invite everyone to check Dr. Zahy's spotlight on edubridges platform, because he's really inspirational. So from what I know of you, you are passionate, you are committed, and you are actively engaged in research, which brings forth the learning experience that you've had throughout. So thanks for willing to be with us. Now, I would like everyone in the chat, because the chat is enabled, if you don't mind, just welcome everybody on board. If you don't mind just giving us, most of you did say where you're coming from, but it would be nice if you can tell us, where are you joining us from? If you just put it in the chat, that would be really nice, because realistically speaking, we are an international, all over the place group of passionate educators that are coming together. So Riyadh, we already have previously from Turkey, from UAE, Saudi Arabia, we have Lebanon. So thank you for joining us. Russia from Australia. Okay, we have Tatiana. She's from Russia. She worked in the UAE. I'm mentioning you, Tatiana, and she's now in Australia. So look at that. It's amazing. Thank you for joining us. Now, if anything, we have to thank the technology for bringing us all together from all over the world. And a lot of people ask me about, why don't I have a conference in person with edubridges? Why am I planning on the conference being online? And I say, why would I want to change this opportunity to bring this diversity together? Especially that, as we said, we're all learning from each other. I'm going to start today's panel, which we will try to hold with a roundtable discussion approach, with something that Prof. K, I'm going to drop the Prof and the Doctor if you don't mind. I'll just have to make it easier. Thank you, K. When I sent the invite for this session, Kay responded, I'm willing to join as a fellow traveler rather than as a pilot on the AI discovery road. And Kay, you've always been eloquent with your words, and I had to start this session today. I guess we are with this quote because we're all travelers on this. Even those who are working on the AI, they are traveling the journey. They are creating it. They're creating the car as they are driving it. So we're all in this together. And with that in mind, I'd like to start with the first question that we would like to reflect on. And please, everybody in the chat, in the attendance, if you would like to share anything, just put it in the chat. We'll try our best to also connect with that along the way. So there's no shortage of sessions, discussions, and chats or articles talking about the challenges we are facing. Challenges, fears, and concerns. And there's no shortage in individuals who are saying, no, it's amazing. It's the best thing that we have received since sliced bread, or I don't know what. We have to jump on it. It's going to revolutionize everything. So I'd like today's session to be focused on what can we do and what are we doing on the practical side rather than the concerns. We're all aware of the concerns. We're all aware that, yes, we need to work with it. So I'd like our discussion, if possible, to try and what are the lessons we're learning? Okay? So the first question is, how can we, like practical approaches of leveraging AI with our research? And mind you, because many of the attendees are teachers at school level, so maybe the focus is not pure empirical research, but we're all doing research, whether it's action research or empirical research or teaching with our students. So what can we do, practices to leverage AI in research beyond just the writing? Okay, I'm being a bit pushy on this because we're all using it for writing with good, bad, and ugly. But besides this writing, what can we do? Who'd like to take this first?
Don't mind going first. I'm kind of on the left side of your screen, Rana, if that's okay.
Go for it.
So, yes, what I've been learning to see it is as a really efficient research assistant. So speaking as a researcher with my researcher hat rather than my teacher hat for the moment, I'm seeing it as a really efficient research assistant, which can save me a lot of time, but it's a research assistant that needs constant checking on their work and a lot of guidance in the form of what I ask it to do and how I ask it to do. So as a research assistant, I'm learning its kind of potential at different stages of the research cycle. For example, recruiting participants for interviews, for human-centered research. It can whiz up a flyer for you using, PictoChart or Canva or something. In the past, where I work, we had to approach our marketing colleagues who did a wonderful job in creating flyers that we could put online. But this, took a lot of time, a lot of toing and froing. Once you write the content, literally in seconds, you have a poster that you can, or a flyer that you can customize. And I'll just say one other thing before handing on to the others on the panel. Again, as a qualitative researcher who does a lot of interviewing, it's really brilliant for recording, transcribing, and translating interviews in one shot. Just simply using Microsoft Office. All these things took forever and a day in the past, especially the transcribing, which is only I think 3 years ago, I was manually transcribing and had human research assistant manually transcribing. This can be done just in a jiffy by AI. So there are two immediate, sort of off the top of my head, examples to get our conversation started.
Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
I can add to what Kay said. I am using it also as a research assistant as well, because it's helping a lot with the literature search, which is for me is so time consuming. So now literature search is something that is done so fast. We have a lot of tools, like for example, SciSpace. I use SciSpace, and it can, at the end, I can get a grid that has all the articles with, and then I ask it, I want to see the research questions from each one. I want to see the method, was it qualitative, quantitative, was it mixed? And so it comes up with this chart that before I used to ask my research assistant to do on Excel by hand. But it comes out with this chart, and then I print it off or I save it as an Excel, and then I can go and then I access the articles. This is saving me so much time, because initially, before you start any project, this is for me a very time-consuming step, and then after, once I found my let's say my first 10 articles that I want to use, what I do is I test before I start, because I want to save myself some time, honestly. So I try to have a conversation with AI. Are my own research questions, I mean, like to evaluate them, to critique them, so I put in the articles I'm thinking of using, and then I ask, what do you think about these questions? Would they work? If this is the literature, this is the most recent literature, I also try to, adjust, improve the method, the design I've chosen, because what it can do, it can predict outcomes. It can suggest, the most effective ways to test your hypothesis, or to, it can critique, like honestly critique a good research question. And so I pre-plan with it, because in my mind I'd be saying, okay, I'm gonna, if it's a mixed method, I'm thinking about 300 participants. Would this be a good number? So this conversation that I used to have, that we would have with a co-author, or you could have sometimes with the research assistant. Now I'm doing this with the AI. So it's been helpful a lot, because I'm a planner. So for me, the planning part is really, really important. So I've been using it like that.
Thank you. Zahy.
So to build on what Kate as well mentioned in terms of a research assistant, right? And what Zeina mentioned as well as it's part of the planning, and we see AI as the back end part, even though lots of people, researchers, see it as the front end part, which is the write up and the paper, which
Yes.
is wrong,
Mhm.
So I think we all agree here that it's a very good tool that helps us in getting all of the back end part in terms of coding, data scraping, transcription, and qualitative. I cannot stress enough on what Kay mentioned in terms of transcription, the manual transcription. It used to be horrible. Translation directly. If today you're doing an interview, a qualitative interview, in-depth interviews with lots of people with different languages, you have on Google Meet, it directly translates that into your language. You can go today through AI and scrape the data on different websites to get secondary data. So there's a lot of time that was saved through AI. But the most important thing is that we need to see AI as an extension to the researcher, not as a replacement. And this is what most researchers see it, and lots of institutions are getting the negative stereotype on AI that, yeah, you could do papers, it will write everything. No, it's you should see it as a tool, and something. I mean, even in the write-up, it can act as fixing grammar, fixing, a sentence structure. But the back end is so important, and most important, as Zaina mentioned, we have to as well double check. It's not a foolproof system. It can help you detect anomalies in data. It can help you do sentiment analysis by day. So there's an amazing now feature under the Google Sheets, whereby you can embed AI, and directly it will you can ask it about sentiment analysis. So based on the different sentences, is it positive, is it negative? It can detect data, it can provide summaries. So even I mean today what most researchers are interested in is, of course, literature review. This is the biggest area. It cuts a lot of time instead of just going into Google Scholar and searching the topic. Today you have, for example, AI in Scopus, that basically you just put the topic, and then it will do a mind mapping. It will tell you the key authors in that area, the trend in that area, and it will give you the references of all of the key articles. So there are tons of things that we can do with AI. But again, the main point that I really want to stress on is that it's an extension of researchers, not a replacement.
Thank you. Kay, you've set the discussion with the research assistant, and it's so interesting because it's so true. I agree with what you have mentioned, and from my side, because I'm working with qualitative, quantitative, and systematic reviews, adding to what you have mentioned, for me with the quantitative, the thing that I found AI is helping me in, the different tools that AI is helping me with, relates to visualizing data in a way, or visualizing the findings in a way that is more accessible to the reader. At the present time, let's say, for example, with Napkin AI, I can really create a much nicer, and let me rephrase. Many individuals in the creative design teams can create wonderful visualizations. But it's, as Kay said, it's much more easy now to have a visual representation. And I'm not talking about graphs in particular. I'm talking about visual representations that can play as an advanced organizer or a concept map and whatnot through tools like AI. So that's for quantitative, and also qualitative, it tends to be very helpful. On the qualitative research side, I found that it is very helpful for minimizing bias in the analysis, because everybody talks about there is bias in AI. We're not saying no. But when I am reviewing the codes, or if I'm reviewing the narrative transcription, unconsciously, I'm highly biased. We try our best not to. But if I'm putting that data with a qualitative tool, although it is biased, but the bias is way less than mine as a human who's coming in. Again, we need to check, so on and so forth. And it definitely cuts out a lot on the time consumption of analyzing qualitative data. It's not going to get the themes for me, but it will help me identify the themes and get there. Meta-analysis and systematic reviews, it's definitely way more helpful than it cuts a lot of time with regards to extracting data and information from the articles I'm reviewing. So these, I think between us, we're talking about, I like how Zahy, you said it's the back end. So it is the research assistant, as Kay said, the back end and the support with the review. Can I ask you for a couple of, if you are to share with the attendees, the 3 topmost tools other than ChatGPT that you are using? Just that way they will go out with or leave with some examples of tools to use.
I just started using the Gemini.
Okay.
I really like it. I also use Claude, other than ChatGPT, we're saying, right? Because ChatGPT, the kids seem to have just taken it over. I use, as I said, SciSpace for the literature, for the initial, and surprisingly, it gives me actual DOIs for articles, not like other ones where you get an article name, you click on it, and then it's nowhere. So no, this one gives me proper articles. So I go and I get the article, because this is the hardest part. So those are the most ones I am using now, like in terms of, in addition to the Google Suite, like, because I've switched from, for example, SurveyMonkey to Google completely.
Yeah.
Collection of.
Thank you. Zahy?
Basically, I've tried many. So Gemini, Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, Claude, DeepSeek, Perplexity. There's a new platform, futurehouse.org. It seems that it's good in literature review, and AI Scopus AI, which is really good in literature. What I would recommend is that you check across, as you go. But so far, the best experience is coming from ChatGPT, which really is currently one of the best. And of course, I mean, AI Scopus is good in giving you the direction. But again, it seems that so far ChatGPT, at least for me, it's still the best in terms of being really good in most of the things.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, for me, what I've been trying out, one for literature is Research Rabbit.
Yeah.
Which is very good in connecting various, a lot of the apps and tools will give us basically a list of possible literature, but Research Rabbit actually makes connections between different parts of literature, and it's very open in terms of what you can ask it. So I've found that very helpful. Perplexity as well is something that I use if I need, like, maybe a topic I need a definition for, or more typically in a research project, you need several definitions from which you say this is the understanding of X topic that we're using in this paper. So it gives
Translanguaging.
yeah,
Translanguaging,
yes,
it could have helped so much. Yes.
it gives a good range of yeah, definitions with, if you ask for definitions with citations, recent definitions, classic definitions, whatever, you can keep modifying the search. But of course, you do have to check each one of those definitions. I mean, it's more accurate than it was, I've found, but there have been some, like, I was like amazed to find that one of the top applied linguists had recently authored on AI with an Emirati person. And I thought, this is amazing. Wow, this collaboration. And I need to see this article like right now, but of course it didn't exist. It was what they nicely call a hallucination, but which is actually a fabrication, right? Let's call it, it's a complete made up. So if I had copied and pasted that and thought, great, then I was in big, big trouble. So really, I think Zeina already mentioned, you really, really, really need to double check. Another one is Canva or PictoChart. Like recently, I finished with a colleague at work, something like a 14,000 word research report for an institution in the region. And part of the required output was a 12 slide PowerPoint or similar presentation. So I was able to put all the text in and ask it to generate slides. And again, of course, review, check, make sure it's picking up on all the things that you need it to pick up on. And as Rana said, it will pick up on things that you didn't think of. So you're really kind of collaborating, I guess, with the AI at that point. And a final recent example, I just published an edited book, and the most horrible task ever that I felt had my eyes bleeding was creating an index.
Yeah.
And I'd asked around, was there, any indexing tools? And there are, but they're, expensive. They're for publishers. So I just put it into ChatGPT, having done a basic index myself. And it did really come up with a decent index that I then cross-checked and cross-referenced against mine. So there's some, like 3 recent examples and the tools that I have used. Thank you.
Thank you. On my side, I'm gonna briefly mention Otter AI for transcription and for qualitative analysis, Napkin for visualization of findings. You can put any narrative that you have concluded with, let's say, I want to represent this, and it can give you some good ones. And Answer This, which is also that literature review component. Now, we have to qualify all this with the fact that most of these AI tools, unless it is Scopus, for example, do not really do a very solid review and search from indexed research. And that's why if you look at Google Scholar and if you do a literature search on Google Scholar, you'll find those articles that are being cited 10,000 times and whatnot, or 6,000 times, or even 500. When you do it with Answer This or some of these tools, you'll end up with research that is recent, that is good. I'm not saying no, but it's not that in depth with regards to the indexed one. It really searches the general thing. I think Zahy has something to say, but I'll give, or no?
Just on the point, because we're talking about literature review, and I think most of the writing is, people are really focused on the write-up, and I see it from from colleagues, from other researchers, and lots of people think that this is the gold mine, this is the next big thing, but and I know that you're going to cover that through the ethics of AI, but this is, for me, is very, very important. In terms of the write-up, because we talk about literature review and the write-up that a lot of researchers might be seeing the easy way out in terms of like, the AI will write everything to me, even though there are of course hallucinations, everything we know. AI is really leveling the writing, right? I mean, few years back, it was purely the researchers' capabilities in the write-up. Today, this is being leveled. Everyone could do the write-up through AI. And AI is so consistent that you're going to start seeing papers popping up that are practically similar in terms of writing. So, human creativity and researchers' creativity, this is what we should be focusing on. How can I use AI to manage all of, as a research assistant, as a time planning thing, as to cut time, everything. But I still need to put my own creativity, my own writing style. I know that you have in AI, you can upload the document that you have written, you can tell it, mimic my writing style, so on and so forth. But this is it's still not organic. And this is what I really, suggest and recommend in terms of the way ahead, in terms of the write-up. Of course, ethics is a big part of it, but
yes,
if we really want to stand out in terms of research and creativity, the extra thing that we have in terms of the write-up, this is what we need to focus on.
An excellent point, Zahy. Realistically speaking, at the present time, what will really, anyway, what AI will help in is, while raising the level of language, now the onus will be on the design and what it is really finding and the methodology and the data. Before we go to something else, I want to refer to some of the things that came up in the discussion. Do you mind each, please, typing the tools that you mentioned so that the attendees can actually pick those up? And we will, for everybody who's attending, we will be providing also this information once the panel recording is available on the edubridges platform. You can join and check, and we'll have that list over there. On my side, it was otter, napkin, and okay, another thing, and okay. Another thing that was mentioned, Rawan was asking about using this for policy as an involved member in school leadership when we survey our community to improve the system or for policy review. The analysis of the data is done through ChatGPT. We've done that to study our community. Any comments and for completing the self-study? What are your thoughts about using that for school leadership? Okay. Or Zeina?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rana. I was typing some stuff in and deleting my spelling errors, so I didn't quite catch the question. Maybe Zeina or Zahy might pick up on it.
Zeina, go for it.
Yeah, I think it's a good method because you didn't use it to write anything. You used it to pre. Anytime we use it for something that is pre, to plan, to kind of feel the room, to see, like to pilot an idea, it's okay. And I think this is a very good, I think it's a very good way to use this method in the school. Absolutely. Yes, I don't see anything wrong with it, honestly, this way. But then if it's writing the self-study and it's writing the final product for you, then it's a big problem. See, this is, and I echo what Zahy was saying. This is where the line has to be drawn. It's an excellent tool, honestly. But we have to learn how to use it. That's it. It's as simple as that. I think the kids in university should be using it. The kids at school should be using it, but in the proper way, because it cannot take over our brain. I can't put in a topic and ask ChatGPT to write me a paper. It will write me a paper, and then claim that it's mine. This is not it. This is not how it works. But sadly, a lot of people are trying to make it work like this. And
exactly.
if you read enough, you kind of see the sentence structure. You kind of see the same, like it's being repeated over the same word choice over and over. There is a like full set of words, like I call the AI lexicon that I've typed up, and I give it to my students, and I say, please, I don't want to see any of these words in your papers. I don't want to
But
see.
you know what? Now I'm getting it. I fully agree with you. And like, for example, any article now or any post in today's technology connected world, you
I
can
don't want to
directly
break
know.
anything
But
anymore
but you
at all.
know what's happening also, Zaina, and this is really sad, that some people who are really good at writing are being without any basis, being how do we say it? عم بيتهمون. They are being branded as using AI while they are not using AI. Like, for example, the term delve, I don't want to see it anymore. But I used to use it on occasions. I can't use it anymore. So,
For the structure, not only, but also. I like this. I've always, now I stop because
yes.
it can, not only is this, but also, but I like this. I
Yeah,
personally like this. So I stop. Yeah, so I understand what you're saying, but like, see, we are in the transition time. This is the learning curve. We are now
exactly.
in the learning curve. It's going to settle in a couple of years, and then things will go back. There will be a level, and we'll go back to normal. So it's like, how when internet first came on the scene, everybody was copy pasting everything, and we were all plagiarizing all over the place. Then they came
Yeah,
up, and the students were copy pasting anything that they can find on Google and turning it in, and we're there again. We're there
yeah,
again. We're exactly in the same place, except we know what plagiarism is now. Now there are guidelines. Everybody
yeah,
knows. The small school kids know. So in a few years, it's going to be the same with AI because it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to get better and better and better and better. I mean,
yeah.
if a few years back, and we're talking about ChatGPT, when it first came on the scene, it was pretty basic. Now it's super advanced.
Exactly. And it is,
So yeah.
as you said, it is giving us the opportunity to do so much more. And with this, I want to switch to the question that Karine put in there. And Karine, in particular, I'm going to refer to one of the analogies she mentioned in the session we had her as a panelist. She said, AI is allowing me to run a marathon. So realistically speaking, thank you, Karine, whether it is in research preparation, whether it is in Rawan's example for leadership, for accreditation, if it allows you to do things faster, it's great as long as you know what you are doing and you know why you are using it for. Now, Karine asks about the nuances with qualitative research. Is AI able to interpret it? Karine, it cannot interpret at all. It's not the interpretation. It can help me with finding the themes or summarizing the themes, but I have to be extremely close to the data. I have to know what the data is all about in order to make it work for me. I want to move to the next question because there are so many important things to talk about. The next question is, what are the skills? Okay, for us now, we're all in agreement. It can help us a lot. Amazing ideas and examples. What are the skills and competencies we need to learn or be competent with and help our students be competent with in order to be able to make use of this at this level? Zahy, can we start with you, if you don't mind?
Sure. I think to start with, you need to understand really the before the prompting, because someone just directly typed prompt.
Yes.
Before prompting, you need to understand what do you need, what data about, how different formulas work, how themes work, how thematic mapping works. So you need to have the background information as a researcher, or if we're not talking about research, anything else, you need to really understand the data and everything that you're plugging in, right? So this is fundamental. This is very, very important, and all of techniques and everything. Now, of course, you have this, Then we go into the prompt, and then prompt, and now we hear, about prompt engineering and everything. It's, I wouldn't say engineering, it's really about plugging in the background and the understanding. Again, it gives you exactly what you're asking for with the context, and most importantly, the quality of the input. Lots of people think, and I've been into many meetings whereby people are asking like, why did it give us so and so and so? Yeah, because you actually gave it the a different input. And another watch out is that sometimes people say like, this is what the AI told me, and for them AI done خلاص, this is for them, the truth. If AI told me this, we should go with that particular direction. No. So understanding the criteria, understanding the data, understanding the culture, as relating it to one of the questions, um, understanding the background and the research questions and the gap and the originality and everything, and how themes work, then only then you have to then put a very, very important prompt, as if you are talking to a very small, little kid. The context, the objective, what is this data about, the background of the data, what you need specifically, and how. So a lot on the input, a lot on the background, and a lot on the output. How do you want the output? And then once you have extracted all of these, then you go into rechecking, rereading. But mind you, I've seen lots of instances where lots of data were actually dropped. And then you go back like, you dropped particular points, and then, oh yeah, and it's endless. So you have to know what you're doing.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I'd begin by echoing what Zahy has just said, that, we need to understand the methodology and the methods of analysis that we're choosing, and which ones are useful for which types of questions, when to use them, why to use them. We don't actually have to do the kind of manual calculations anymore, say for quantitative research. We have AI tools to do that, but we really need to understand which methods, which statistical analysis, which questions that are best answered by which approaches, and so on. So all that kind of research literacy is probably even more needed than ever. A second thing I would say is that we need to have an understanding of transparency in all facets of our research. My PhD supervisor long ago, Professor Adrian Holliday, who's a qualitative researcher, and in his book on qualitative research methods from maybe 20 years ago, he always reminds us to show your workings.
Yes.
So that your research is trustworthy and transparent. And the same thing applies to using AI in research, that you're very clear about what you've used, when you've used it, why you've used it, how you've used it. And related to that as well, I think we need to know, for generative AI such as ChatGPT, we need to know how it works so that we know its limitations, we know its biases, we know its fabrications, we know its strengths, and that we always know that the human judgment is something that the AI just doesn't have. Same at other kind of, I guess, stages of the research project cycle, the possibilities and the pitfalls. Say in a literature review, it can give you a list of who found what, but it can't really provide a narrative, a critical narrative that compares and contrasts across research, in the area. And as I mentioned earlier, you always need to cross-check to make sure that it's accurate. I think guidelines in general for kind of what we need to declare when we publish, or when we are doing a master's or a doctoral thesis, what do we need to declare and how we need to declare it. I think this is still very much in development, but you don't want to be caught out. Let's say you're working on something and you haven't kept a record of what you've used, and then your supervisor or the university or the publisher says list everything and you're not sure. So show your workings is still a very good motto for researchers in the age of AI.
Thank you, Kay. Zeina.
I think I will just summarize. I think because they covered everything. I do think that we need essential technical skills. We don't have data literacy. People just putting in information, getting it out. They don't understand what this data means. They don't know how the AI came to it. And so they cannot explain, when they write out their paper, how they got to this, which is what Kay is saying. If you use it, you have to be able to show your work. So we need that. People need to know, like, what are the different types of programming languages? Like what does this AI give me other than that? How, if I write the prompt this way, what result will I get? What am I looking for? A lot of people don't even know what the question is that they want. What do they want from this data? They don't know. I think this is very important. We also need critical thinking skills, which I think is missing this is very, very important. We have to be able to understand, first of all, we need to be able to interpret the data that, we have to be able to do that ourselves. So we give it all the numbers, it gives me something back, okay, and then I have to be able to know what that means. I have to be able to analyze it. I have to be able to, because if I can't do that, then my data is useless because it cannot be generalized. It cannot be used by, if I put all this information into the ChatGPT or whatever AI, and it gives me back this analysis, and I take it and, it gets published. If I cannot explain it, and that means other people cannot reproduce it, which is the whole purpose of, when we write something, we want other people to be able to reproduce our study in their own context, because this is what a valuable research is. But if this is how we're going about it, then, we're not checking where's the ethical reasoning, really, honestly, like where's the reasoning behind all of this? So we need to be able to evaluate critically the AI generated results and understand the limitations. A lot of, I think, especially new researchers, they don't understand the limitations. They think it can do everything and anything. It cannot do everything and anything that the human brain can. We also need communication skills. And this goes back, looping to what Kay said. We have to be able to explain our methodology choice or the AI methodology choice. We have to be able to explain our findings to non-technical audiences. If whoever reads my paper has to be able to understand how I got to these results. We have to be able to, the public, I think, has to be able, when they read this paper, to think, oh, this is a good paper. No, not, oh, this sounds like a robot wrote this paper, because they've used all these words that nobody knows, what they mean. So in the end, I don't know, like properly documenting the processes are very important, because we need to ensure that our research is reproducible and the methodology is very, very transparent. I think this is very important. So,
yeah. Zahy, you have something to say?
Yeah. I mean, to build on what Zaina just mentioned, and it goes the other way in terms of when we're getting reviews on our paper. And there's a trend that we're seeing, that currently reviewers are uploading the paper, the anonymous paper, manuscript on AI, and they're getting all of the the work that they should be doing, the review, and then sending it back to the editor. And we have seen some of the feedback that shows clearly that is what it was generated by AI, and some of these, they don't make any sense. So this is something about ethics, in terms of, if I'm reviewing a paper, I need to actually put in my expertise. I need to put in the time, even giving back to the community. It's not paid, it's not anything. And we're seeing that trend, and we should talk about that. It's part of the researchers ethics, of actually reading a paper, giving the feedback, giving the recommendation. I mean, when you are in a conference, you're not using AI to give directly a feedback to the presenter, and we need to still do that in order to make sure that the research body as a whole is actually going into the proper place. So just building on what Zaina mentioned.
Zahy,
Thank you.
a review recently of one of the papers that I wrote, that the recommendation from the reviewer was to include more recent and focused literature such as X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? X, Y, and Z are not real articles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wrote
This
back
is so,
and I said, I withdraw my paper. If this is how you're going to, I don't want to be in this journal. Imagine, like,
this is so interesting that you're saying that. And for me, I'm gonna, as we're going with this round table thing, for me, the competencies that or skills that are extremely important, I'll go back to the basics. I'll say that we need to know our content. We need to know the knowledge base, the content knowledge information. At the present time, if Zahy prepares through ChatGPT or any other tool a particular paper that's completely hallucinated by an AI and gives it to me about marketing, I will see it's awesome. I wouldn't be able to tell anything about what's right and wrong in it. So I think a lot of individuals are worried about the fear. They are afraid that we might lose out on the knowledge. On the contrary, with AI, the knowledge is going to be so important for the researcher to know, to be able to produce what is needed. So even before critical thinking, there's the basic, the foundational knowledge in our area. There's the foundational knowledge, research knowledge, and procedures. And to a certain extent, when I'm connecting, as you were talking, I was writing a couple of notes with what you said, Zahy, about it's raising the bar or putting a baseline for the writing. If we compare it with when SPSS or analysis tools came out, prior to that, I don't think in older times the writing was that like the biggest competence or skill or the real value of a research paper was actually the data and the analysis. That's where the researchers used to work with the statistics and finding the analysis and finding that. Once that became easier with SPSS and other tools, we shifted to, okay, now how are you writing and presenting it? And what's the design that you are using it with? At the present time, the biggest focus is going to be on showing what we did. So we're going to be pushing to the extreme level of what was done. And to a certain extent, it's the cognitive tool that is supporting that researcher. And with regards to some of the questions that came up regarding the ethical considerations and what's happening with checkpoints, checks and balances, we are already seeing, it's still in process and in progress, but we're already seeing checks and balances taking place. At the present time, many journals, if not the majority of academic journals, they have a section for the authors to highlight what is acceptable, what is not, and there is a generative AI acknowledgement thing that we need to sign. Another thing that is extremely important is I also know that now, to avoid that issue with reviewers are also being asked to sign, I'm not going to be using this with AI. So there is an acknowledgement. Now, does not answer everything? Not at all in any way, form, or shape. But remember, there's been plagiarism and fake research way before AI. And I'll take this a very quick, short example. Are you aware of the research that was conducted on identical twins separated at birth and the guy who was caught faking his whole series of research? I don't remember the name. I'll get the name and put it in the edubridges. But he's a big name after the war. You know, in psychology, trying to answer the question of nature versus nurture, what is more important? The best research is conducted with identical twins that were separated at birth. They have the same genes, but they are growing in different contexts. Okay. And after the war, there was this researcher who came up and said that he found so many kids who were separated at birth, identical twins, and he started more than 40 couples, pairs of twins, and he started publishing about it, and everybody was amazing. He got kudos and attention, only to be later on discovered that he made it all up. He faked it totally. He even faked his assistant. And when he was asked about the data, his claim was that, oh, it got burnt. So fake research has always been there. The amount of research was little, so fake research was small in amount. At the present time, research productivity is increasing, so fake productivity increases. So thank you. There's a lot also to talk about this, but I believe it all goes back to the skills that you mentioned. There's a question from Azza about the UNESCO competency framework. The competency framework is an extremely helpful framework at the present time. It's the start. It's not the final, it's the start. And we've noticed there are documents that are being called live documents because they're changing so quickly at the present time. So Azza, I think we can have a, I'll put this on my agenda early next year, because now we're finishing this panel, but we can start thinking about targeting the UNESCO competency framework and talking about how it can be in action, either through a panel or through some training. That's an excellent point. Next one, how do we keep it authentic and work on our creativity? The marathon, this is by Fikra. Okay, I think Fikra, the answer to that is if you know your content and if you know your area, and that's why we will never reach the point where we don't need specialists in the field. Go for it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Rana, just to augment what you said, you've mentioned the importance of content, knowing your content, owning your content a few times. Another really important word is context. Because AI can't understand your context, the context that you're researching in all its nuances. And the sort of one of the biggest errors that I see coming forward in student research papers at master's and I guess undergraduate level is a lack of context. And that is kind of a straight giveaway that it's from AI or strongly generated by AI. You know the context. The AI tool doesn't know the nuances of your classroom, your school, the UAE education system, or whatever it is that you're working on. So if you want to avoid any pitfalls around overdependence on AI, make sure that you research and describe, analyze your context as thoroughly as you do your content. That would be particularly expected in qualitative research, that the context is very, very important.
Thank you, Kay. It's so true, and we can see it when we are talking and chatting with that ChatGPT or Claude or whichever, when they give us something, or I'll stick with it, let's go for it. When it gives us something, we have to clarify, no, this is not what I meant. So yes, it's getting better, but the context and the content tend to be extremely important. I want to move to the third question, which I will merge both our role or the things we can do as faculty and academics, as well as institutions. So with the shared concern about the ethical considerations when using AI, whether it is using it to create the writing, or whether it's using it by uploading articles or things that, or personal information that might be used for training the AI. What are some of the things that we can do as faculty members or as individuals in the academic arena to overcome or minimize? Let's be honest. We will not be able to address all ethical considerations. We won't be able to address all the concerns that we have. But how can we minimize these, whether while we are using it or whether when our students are using it? And how can the institution help in putting this culture of responsible use of AI? Zeina, go for it.
Yes, so
I'm gonna set my,
I
yes.
always wonder about, like, I always think, okay, so we write these papers, so there are people using AI, and then they take full credit for it. Okay, so we're talking about research. But what about sometimes if someone discovers, if AI comes up with like an innovation that a person can patent, then you have now who takes the credit for this? I mean, it's just, if you start to think about it, it's never ending. It's really an ethical dilemma. It's a big ethical dilemma. I think to start with, I think institutions need to have clear guidelines, clear policies for AI use in research. They need to, including the requirement for transparency. In this way, we're not telling anyone don't use it. However, you are required to be transparent if you used it, how you used it, right? Because that feeds into validation of the data, that feeds into, accuracy of your findings. So, and this goes into the ethical review, but they can't do that before they give everybody mandatory training. I think they should require all researchers to complete AI literacy training covering both technical capabilities as well as ethical considerations, because the ethics of it all is where a lot of people are lost. When it comes to the peer review processes, they have to be updated, because we just said, so journals have to update those. Also, that now they're trying to put papers into the AI detectors. Well, those AI detectors are not detecting at all, because because it can sound like you can review, you can make it sound like you. So we have to find a way that we update the processes for evaluating the methodology, evaluating the bias in the papers. How do we assess? Because we can see if the data is generated from AI because of the bias. Is this research, again, as I said, reproducible? Can someone take it and redo the whole thing? And also, I think very, very importantly, there has to be some kind of a collaborative oversight. There has to be committees in not just the research committee, but there has to be interdisciplinary committees that overlook research. So these committees would have, for example, ethicists. They would have domain experts, because we keep turning, and we keep going back to, you have to know your content and you have to know your context. This is how you can tell if this research is authentic or not. So if you have experts, subject experts, domain experts, and we can have AI specialists on these committees, plenty of engineers who are not prompt engineers at the university who can serve on these committees. I mean, they can review high impact AI research applications. So once we put these in place, I think it would make it less unethical, because it's not going anywhere. It's not.
Mm-hmm. And I think there is a difference between ethical and responsible that we need to actually talk about. Maybe that can be another panel altogether, with the ethical aspect that is way on the bigger, and the responsible. At the present time, I think we need to balance both. Kay, you wanted to take next?
Yes, thanks, Rana. I think as a general statement of ethics, we can use AI to improve our language, definitely. And I see it as just an amazing boon for people who are writing in a language that's not their first language. So that's really, really benefited a lot of people. We can use it to summarize our content. We can use it to represent our content in a sort of a different format, as I've described earlier, but not to generate text that we then claim as our own. Because if we think, what's the original definition of plagiarism? Presenting somebody else's work or ideas or words as your own without appropriate acknowledgement. So if AI is used in that way, then it does constitute plagiarism. I was just submitting something the other day to Elsevier, and I noticed that they're really very clear that AI should not replace like core author tasks like producing the insights or drawing the conclusions or making the recommendations, and that the technology, when it's used, should be acknowledged and should be done with like human oversight and control. Generally, we're still, I think, in very much a developmental phase, and we're still kind of groping our way through this. We don't have any international clear guidelines, say, for citing the use of AI, what we should acknowledge, what we should not. So I guess if we go back to the kind of original definitions of plagiarism as a touchstone, that will keep us on the right track. In terms of institutions, I think being part of discussions like this, communities of practice like this, nationally and internationally, is really, really essential, so that we're all learning from each other and contributing to this steep learning curve that we're all on. Yeah, that would be my main points to make at this stage, Rana. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, with both what you are saying, and I'll move to Zahy in a second, with regards to thinking about the policies, thinking about understanding more what is being required or requested with the policies that are out there, and even the discussions. That's why at EduBridges, we're going to be holding our first ever boot camp about AI and research. So if anybody's interested in learning more about what we can do and how we can do it, sorry, this is a marketing promotion, but if you are interested, you will get, and if you are in attendance, you'll get a discount. And Rita will be posting the information in the chat over here and pinning it at the top. Do connect with us if you are interested. So, Zahy, what about your input?
So I completely agree with Zeina and Kay. In terms of institutional guidelines and the ethics and responsibility of it, and I see it from as a blueprint to start from the individual. So you were mentioning, Rana, the start with the responsibility of the researcher, then the institution of the academic institution that you're working as part of it, and then policy. Because we're really playing catch up, and it really needs to start with us as researchers, responsible researchers, feeding into the different committees that we have across the university on AI, and we have several ones at LAU that are with the community. They're trying to develop procedures, training. We have lots of internal training through our in-house training for faculty and staff on how what are the best usages, ethics, panel discussions, so on and so forth, and then ideally have all of these at the institution level, and then help the government with policies and on AI. And this is a never-ending work, because again, going back to the initial point that Kay mentioned at the beginning of the panel, we're on a journey, and this journey, especially with technology, is never ending. So I see it as a full package with developing policies, but it's never going to be foolproof. And again, it goes back to the personal responsibility that each one of us has to do. One thing I would like to add is training, mentoring, and us going into the classroom. So I'm switching to teaching classroom and teaching because I've seen lots of questions as well, or input, or statements in the chat on students and being old-fashioned, only stick with paper and pen.
Yes.
But I think embedding us as faculty, embedding AI into the learning journey will as well make us learn, as Kate just mentioned at the beginning. We're learning, we're giving and we're learning. And to give you very small example, fast example on what I do in my class, is that I teach marketing strategy. So on strategic level, thank God, AI is really not good. Thank God. So what we do is that we solve the case without any electronic, internet, connection. So they solve a case study in class, and then I show them afterwards how the AI actually solved it. And you can't believe how many students will be astonished, like, oh my God, I actually solved it much better than the AI. So we really, and we need to do the same with researchers. Like, do your part, check what the AI has done, and you will be, I promise you, you'll be astonished on what the human mind is capable of when we want to use it.
Exactly. Thank you. On my side, when I think of all this, there's another aspect that I believe we need to do, which is continue the discussion, continue the training, all of this. This is very important. But there are two aspects. First off, our expectations. We need to manage our expectations when we're going for training. And that's why, for example, we're not offering training. We're making it a boot camp, because there's a lot of learning that is happening hands-on while working with the actual tools. So we need to understand, and from our expectations, don't expect that we will ever become specialists. So I really find it strange for those who are sharing their profile as AI specialist or prompt engineering specialist. I don't think the AI gurus who created this thing are prompt engineering specialists yet, even. There's that part. The other part is sharing information. Unfortunately, and I'm going to be very transparent on this, in this part of the world, the sharing information tends not to be a common value or cultural skill. It's really sad that when I was doing my master's, the professor back then, which is in a previous century, not just a decade, in the previous century, he was saying that we are in a culture where I won't share what I know because I don't want somebody to take my place. عقلية ما بعلم غيري حتى ما ياخد محلي. We are moving out of it. I have to say we're moving, but we need to move faster because nobody's waiting for us. And when it comes to AI, and going back to what we started, as Kay said, this is a journey. We're learning with each other. We cannot afford not to share what we're learning. Similar to what happened with the COVID. We survived the COVID not because of what the universities offered or the schools offered. We survived because we were on WhatsApp. We were supporting each other. This is the same thing. So we need to share information. And finally, in my opinion, we need to have serious discussions and share examples and how we are doing and get together in a collective. That's hence edubridges and the relevance of that. And with regards to assessment, alternative assessment, we cannot continue, and that applies even in research. I cannot continue teaching research to my students and expecting only a paper. It's not. If I really need to overcome these concerns with regards to fake or plagiarized research, I need to change a little bit in the way we conduct it. So for example, and I've mentioned this in multiple sessions, we in the course I'm giving at University of Toronto at OSE, what we do is we ask the students to record a 5-minute screencast or video walking us through the analysis that they conducted, the files that they worked with. That is another, like, we cannot continue with just write a paper and expect them not to take the easy way out. Come on, who's going to do that? They're only human. So these are the things. Your thoughts?
I think it's making more work for teachers. Now we're gonna, when we talk about assessment, and this is
Yes.
going on, the students are using AI, and this is the way we want to test if they've used AI or not, then we're doubling our work. Essentially, when we thought it was gonna, yeah, I understand it's the ethical way to do, but I'm thinking like people are not thinking about
But
it.
at this,
you know?
I hear you. I hear you, Zeina, but at the same time, from another perspective, AI is helping us. And let's be honest, most faculty members and teachers are using AI to develop part of their lesson plans, So I can use it to cut down on some of my menial jobs, not menial, some of my time-consuming work. And we've always had this discussion. We were never happy with how assessment was taking place. But I agree with you. Yeah.
No, I like the idea that when assessment is personalized, when it's authentic in this way, definitely, because it's a better indicator than tests and so on. It's just that, people,
Yes.
yeah,
But
but
it's definitely more work. I'm not saying no, but we'll find a balance.
it's valid because then it's measuring if real learning has happened or not.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about something that scares me, actually. I worked so hard to become like good at research and become, and this, Rana, because when we started a million years ago, we were in different places.
Come on, you're young. I can say that. You cannot say that.
For me, I always wonder that, I don't know, I always wonder about losing that skill of being a researcher, losing as AI, it's getting powerful and we're relying on it. So for me, this is a fear that, am I losing certain skills by using it? And so that voice in my head personally keeps me alert. So I always make sure that I'm not dependent on it. I'm not over reliant on it because I don't want my research skills to atrophy. Honestly, I don't, because it took me so long to build them. But so for me, this is a fear. Like honestly, I'm sharing like really this is a fear for me because that's why I don't accept anything it gives me at face value. That's why I make sure I double check and I triple check everything. And I always have to, I go, and sometimes I overdo it. It takes me longer to do certain things, but I just want to make sure that, still it's me in there. And I think the more I do that, the faster I'm becoming, actually. So on the other side, that fear is making me sharper. Because now I look at my data a little bit differently. It has sharpened a lot of things for me because I'm so worried about if I use my AI, I'm really concerned that any data coming out is incorrect or there's something wrong. And so what happens is now I double check and I triple check, and I've become much, much more meticulous about certain things, which has enhanced my skill instead of my fear of atrophy. So I don't know if it seems other people are going through the same, but this is a concern for me.
Zahy, I think you're talking about all of us, Zahy.
I totally agree with Zeina, and I think if there's one thing we need maybe to take out of one of the many things or the key things that we need to take out of this today's panel's discussion is to do a mind shift, a change in perception of AI. Because going back to Zeina's point, if we look at it that this AI tool is going to bring the best in me, it's going to challenge me, it's going to make me a much better researcher and a much better teacher, then if we look at AI from that lens, not that it's going to take my job, it's going to do stuff, that I'm going to be obsolete. No, if it's going to challenge me to become a better researcher, whereby I'm going to go back to your initial point, Rana, as well, that I'm going to go deeper in terms of the insights, build further in terms of the implications, go further in terms of the data analysis, the added value that I'm giving as a researcher. As a teacher, of course, you all know today it's a big question mark is about teaching. If students are getting all of the knowledge from AI, what would be the value of a teacher? Now, this is a big challenge for teachers on how to move that particular learning into an experiential learning, into the interaction. How can
Exactly.
I change the perception and my the positioning or what I do as a teacher in that teaching journey and change that perspective? So this AI is going to challenge me, and I think this is a huge opportunity, and this is actually positive, not negative, if we see it under that particular lens. And we actually tell students about that. Go and use AI and try to compare between your work and AI. How can you use AI to start, particular areas, brainstorming, so on and so forth. But go and check how you can challenge yourself and become much better than AI. We have seen in competitions, in brand competitions as well, that uh, currently creativity is actually going down because and you have lots of ideas that are very similar because they are using
Yeah.
AI. A few years ago, they were completely different. And hence, I mean, what we tell students, look, they're becoming all the same. So how can you actually use AI but still challenge yourself, and AI will challenge you to become a better person and actually make it into whatever career or life you. So just wanted to really focus on that in doing that mind shift.
Thank you. Kay, you have something to add?
Let me unmute myself first. I think, yeah, we've covered all the points. We've kind of maybe moved away from your original question, which I think related to assessment. From my perspective, we have been in an era of obsessive interest and focus and time spent on assessment. We've allowed assessment and testing to totally dominate teaching and learning. And it's no harm that AI has brought us this great benefit of forcing us to question assessment, what we're doing, why are we doing so much of it? And it really has kind of torpedoed the
Yes.
whole assessment thing. So I think that that's actually a benefit. Now, when
Yeah.
it comes to Zaina's point about, well, it's going to take so much more time. Yes, to do authentic, performance-based and so on, alternative forms of assessment does take more time, but we can do less of it. And we can put the focus more on the process, on the input, on the continuous learning, on formative assessment, in other words. So I do see this, we are definitely questioning, like essays are no longer really appropriate because AI will do a better essay for you. So we're forced to look for alternatives, which in my field of teacher education is relatively straightforward because you can have a lot of performance-based, contextually relevant assessments. So it's relatively easy to do that. So yes, in short, AI has forced us to question assessment. This is a good question to ask. We can do more alternative forms of assessment, and we can do less of them and still have valid judgments about performance.
Thank you. Thank you, Kay. Thank you. I can continue talking with you and learning from you for another 3 hours, but I'm fully aware of the time. And with that, I want to first just mention I found the name with the help of ChatGPT. I found the name of the researcher. It's Sir Cyril Bird, and I'm sharing that with you in the chat. That's the guy who faked the whole thing about. So, with that in mind, I really want to thank the panelists for an amazing amount of meaningful and insightful information. I want to thank the attendees for their insightful participation. Usually what we do with the panel discussion is around an hour of discussion and then open for questions and answers. But today the questions and answers were part of the whole discussion. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks a lot for your contributions. By Monday, we will have the panel recording available on our community, and we can continue the discussion over there. Because I think if this session showed or reflected anything, it's a testament to the need for us to continue talking, continue discussing, and continue collaborating to navigate this special times. I want to leave, we have 4 more minutes. I want to leave the chance for the 3 panelists if you have anything to conclude with before we say goodbye.
You said navigate. It's another AI word. See,
but I use it.
what I was saying, like the word nuance, for example.
Yes.
Now I'm so conscious of these words but these are words we use. You know what I mean?
Yes.
These are words we use all the time. Now it just took them over. But when you see a student using it, you're thinking, ChatGPT, because you don't know what it means. You know, it's just.
But agreed. And it depends on, as Kay said, the context. If I know my student and what they're capable of using and what not.
Exactly. Context. That's it.
That's it. Kay, Zahy.
I would just say in response to Zeina, I wouldn't worry about the language once the content is owned and analyzed and critiqued by the author, the originator, then the language is really, in a way, a mechanical thing that Grammarly or Quillbot will do for you. So I wouldn't worry so much about that.
Thank you. Zahy.
I want to leave you with just something to think about. Recently I've been doing some kind of thematic analysis, and in a meeting we're going into data and stuff, and I really didn't like the what the AI did. So I've done it purely manual. And I've sent it through email, and I've put in brackets, not done by AI, it was done manually. And you know what? Everyone agreed and we're aligned. I think we might be going into an era in few months, few years, whereby we're going to go back and genuinely say that we don't want AI, we want the human touch. We want the human thing. And in marketing, in my domain, we started seeing that when Coke, for example, launched the ad done by AI, lots of people really hated it. And then Dove announced that it's going to commit to not doing any ad done by AI because it goes back to the brand values that it's not about, fake stuff, it's about the real thing. So I think we might, this is my expectation, that we're going to go into an era that we're going to have finally some type of now adjustment in terms of our perception of AI. It's not the whole truth, nothing but the truth is going to be issued by AI, but then we're going to go back and put more value into the human, mind and feedback. That's it.
Thank you. And Zahy, I'll follow up with you with something that is, for me as somebody who's not involved in marketing, the difference between handmade products versus the mass produced. And eventually we will still have the mass produced research. We will have the AI supported research that will continue, but then the hand carved or the authentic will have the higher value no matter what. And with this, I want to thank you all for your participation, for your contributions. I'm having a question regarding the bootcamp. The bootcamp, send us a message, or just send us a message, or just check the community through the community, send us a note and we'll provide you with the full information for anybody who's interested in that. Please share with your colleagues also. The more collaborations we can get, the better. And with the hope of continuing with our authentic selves in research, in teaching, and in life, I'll see you later. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.